friends, it's Regina Cordell from reginacordell.com, UX extraordinaire, writer, podcaster, and dabbling in a little YouTube on the side. Very much on the side, like way on the side. But as you saw in the title, I'm going to give a little commentary on a new show created by none other than Quinta Brunson, the famous former BuzzFeed girl. Oh, he got money. Remember her? Well, she has created a dynamic show called Abbott Elementary. Now, initially, I wasn't going to watch the show because I thought it had the type of feel of Saturday Night Live or The Office, and I'm not too much into those type of shows. I'm not a huge TV person, but after many spirited conversations on TikTok about the show, some think pieces, some funny commentary, I decided to bring it over to YouTube because I didn't see much chatter about it here. But if you want a full-fledged, deep think piece, head over to Sugar and Spice and Nothing Nice, I think, on TikTok, or follow the hashtag Abbott Elementary on TikTok. So here's my take on the nuances on the show, the characters, and the things that Quinta, I hope I'm saying her name right, Quinta presents in each of the episodes. Now, I am a little late. This is episode 1, the pilot episode, and I'll try to catch up to episode 4. Thank you for coming in, and here's my commentary. Quinta definitely did her homework with this show. This show is exactly what the people of TikTok, or the people on TikTok, said about the show. It is every single nuance of teaching in an urban area, and I'm just going to go through my notes as I wrote them down and as I watched the show. So Miss Teagues is played by Quinta Brunson. She is the overzealous new teacher. She has 1 year of experience, and she is completely optimistic about the ins and outs of teaching in an urban school. There's another character. There are a few characters in there that are new teachers. There was Miss Schwartz, Miss Teagues, and Mr. Hill. When I first encountered them on the show, well, not encountered them, but watched them. When I watched them on the show, the first thing that came to mind was Teach for America. Anybody that has ever been a teacher or a teacher in an urban district, there's just something about teachers who go through the Teach for America program that stands out. And all 3 of them definitely put me in the mind of teachers from Teachers for Teachers who went through the Teach for America program. They all have a savior complex. It is an optimism that they're going to come in and they're going to transform the school with little resources, and they're going to make an impact on students, and they're going to influence the older teachers and do all of the things until the end of day 1. But that's another video for another time. Then there's the nuance of Miss Howard. Now, I never wanted to become a Miss Howard, and hopefully I never did become Miss Howard. I was in education for quite some time, but I don't think I got to a Miss Howard level, but a little bit I did. Miss Howards are good in the school in a way, but sometimes you just don't want to deal with a Miss Howard. But she's there. She's an older teacher, and I thought it was quite funny because when you have some of the older teachers or administrators, the first thing they're going to tell you is they have a standing appointment at something. Either they get their hair done every week and they're going to tell you, oh no, I cannot stay after school on X, Y, and Z day because I have to get my nails done or I have to get my hair done. And one lady, she was so adorable. She said it was her casino day. So she would always go to the casino. And so in this episode, Miss Teagues, that's played by Quinta, she was trying to get supplies for her classroom. And if anybody has ever worked in an urban school, a Title I school, sometimes supplies it's hard to get them. Even though Title I gives a decent budget, sometimes I'm not well versed in the budgeting, so don't let me misspeak, but sometimes it's hard to get those smaller resources that you need. And Miss Teagues was on the hunt for a new rug because hers was destroyed by one of the students. Definitely something that really happens in the school. So this is going to be kind of just, if you're just coming in, it is going all through the episode from the beginning to the end. So let's see, we're talking about Miss Teagues getting supplies. So then Miss Teagues, during this whole ordeal of buzzing around the school, because some of those newer teachers, they can be a little buzzy, as they identified in the episode, buzzing around the school, dropping their cheer here or there, their positivity and whatnot, and we'll talk about that a little later as well. But she was desperately trying to make a connection with Miss Howard, and Miss Howard is the older teacher, has been in the school for quite some time, and sometimes the older teachers can be a little jaded because they've had the experiences of asking for supplies, being disappointed, asking for this and that, and being disappointed, and really wanting to make the change, but only to be met with resistance. So they adopt the attitude of doing what you can with the resources that you have, or making it happen on your own, which kind of brings us to the topic of school districts only flourish on unpaid teacher labor. I think that should be a podcast episode. We may keep it a little light over here. We'll see. So then also in this episode, we have Mr. Hill. Mr. Hill, he is the epitome of Teach for America. Teach for America, if you want to talk about this and why you find these people, I am here for that discussion. But Mr. Hill definitely has the total Teach for America attitude. He is a young white male. He has the savior complex, and he just feels that he's just well versed on all topics Black American, because he's had a little bit of Black history, and he studied Cornell West, and he makes all of these references to Black poets and Black authors and Black things. So he really thinks that he can save the students in an urban school, but we see Mr. Hills all the time. Then there's Miss Shimetti, I think that was her name. I've worked with a Miss Shimetti, not her real name, but she is an Italian woman with connections to the city that makes it happen. And the lady that I worked with, I think it was during my first year teaching, she was just like her. She didn't have long hair like that. She had short hair. I think she was Italian. She was a hoot and a half, but she was a great resource. And just like in this episode, she was good friends with the older teacher in the school, Miss Howard. She and the other lady, they were good friends. Good times, I tell you. They looked out for me a lot my first year of teaching. So let's get back to Miss Teague. So Miss Teagues, she is the lead in this episode, and she is just going around, flowering around the school, and just asking for different resources that would be a benefit to her students, and they would probably benefit the other students in the school as well. But she's just met with a lot of condescending comments and just a lack of support when it comes to looking for different resources. And I'll go back to the statement about Miss Howard or some of the older teachers, and they just have the attitude they've been through it, so they know not to get their hopes up too high. And then around that time, there was another lady, and I think she was only in the episode maybe 2 or 3 minutes, Miss Schwartz. And Miss Schwartz, there's so many. This is really relevant to 2022, 2021, and really since the pandemic happened. But I think over the next 5 years, there will be a lot of Mrs. Schwartz. Now, Mrs. Schwartz in this episode was one of the 3 teachers left from, I'm going to call them Teach for America, the Teach for America program. and she was having trouble with classroom management. She just hadn't gotten her strategies down, and she needed a lot of support. So she came into the teacher's lounge a little upset, and she just was met with no empathy. Miss Teagues did. Miss Teagues, I think at the time, really didn't know how to reach out to her. She was just a little bit in shock. But essentially, they sent Miss Schwartz back out to the wolves. And the principal, Ava, came in and was just like, oh, they're just kids. You're an adult. You should handle it. And I hear teachers say that all of the time, but it's 26 to 30 kids. It's not 1-to-1 kid. And there are challenges in there. And instead of saying, oh, you are the adult, you can handle it, offer some support. Offer to go in there for 10 or 15 minutes to get the class back under control, to redirect and refocus the class. But typically that does not happen. It did not happen with Miss Schwartz, and there was an incident in the hallway with Miss Schwartz and the student. The student pushed Miss Schwartz, and Miss Schwartz kicked the kid. Miss Schwartz kicked the kid. She was just at her wit's end. Of course, she left the school, which I think there's going to be a mass exodus in education, not because of things like this only, but teachers are leaving the profession. And I can't say that I blame them, because things really need to shift in education. And just like this episode, they're just putting anybody in the classroom. So instead of supporting the trained professional, you're just leaving those professionals just to their own, to find solutions to things they should not be solving. And then once they leave, you're just putting anybody in the classroom. Like with this episode, they put a senior custodian in the class who does not have the skill set or the interest of being a teacher. And that is problematic. Then we go on to Miss Ava. I didn't really catch her last name because they called her Ava. She also reminded me of a principal that I had long time ago, and she was just flouncing around the building and just doing everything except being a principal, and that's what Ava reminded me of. They had the same complexion, they had the same style, everything about them was the same, so I found that quite hilarious. Then there was Mr. Eddie, the sub, and that was the guy from, I think, Everybody Hates Chris. He's an adult now. Wow. Wow. And once he arrived in the office, every stereotype about a black male teacher was hurled. Quinta, you really did a great job of capturing those nuances. They were saying how strong he was, how handsome he was, and how he would be for the kids, not knowing anything about him. And then he gave a little backstory that he had once interviewed for the position at that school. And then Quinta slid in a few points about nepotism in education. It is there. I'm sure it's in every profession, but it's there. And it reminded me of really how Atlanta school districts work. And so then they did a flash to Ava, the principal, and Ava said that she went to the church, very Atlanta behavior. Went to the church with a superintendent who knew. And so she got the job instead of Mr. Eddie. Works like that all the time. And I'm sure it's not just in Atlanta, but all over. But I know for sure, church relationships in Atlanta gets promotions and jobs, qualified or not. So then it goes back to Miss Howard, who continues to say, don't set yourself up for disappointment. Miss Teagues isn't really listening to Miss Howard in her complaining. She continues to be optimistic and positive, which you should be in your job. You don't want to go to your job every day and be all grumpy and stressed out. And I don't think Miss Howard was stressed out. She was just over it, but she still seemed to be, as they presented in the episode, a good teacher to her kids. They even had the nuance of the perfect handwriting on the board, the beautifully decorated class. Everything was neat. She had command of the students. It was absolutely great. Thank you, Quinta. And then they showed, which was so funny, the post meetings There is always the staff meeting, and then there are the post meetings. There are the collaborative meetings, then there's the post meetings. The post meetings is for everybody to hash out all of the stupid shit they tell you to do in the meeting. And then they made a point of retaliation. Oh, retaliation runs deep in public schools. It absolutely does. I'm quite sure in many workplaces, retaliation is there. But in schools, if you say something against someone with a little bit of power that they don't like and they don't have a good handle on themselves, they will retaliate on you. So take good notes. Then towards the end, it showed how emotionally taxing that education can be, because Ms. Howard pointed out that teachers often have to wear many hats as the parent, the second parent, the counselor, the fixer, so many things, and you multiply that times the number of adults that the teacher communicates with in the school, then multiply that again times the number of students, and so it's emotionally draining. So all of the professional duties plus the emotional part of teaching plus the salaries that don't really match that, that's creating an exodus. And the last point is we should not be required to do that. Teachers should not be required to do all of that. If teachers could really just focus on what they were hired to do, their job description, without all of that unpaid labor, I think things would begin to balance out in teaching, then we could see a shift in achievement. But there are some other points that go along with that. But the nuance is that Quinta was able to capture the feelings, the decoration, the smells, the emotion, everything that goes on in teaching. Quinta, good job, dear. I think I'm going to go on to episode 2, 3, and 4 now. You may get episode 2 today or whenever. I'll get caught up soon. But if you have not checked out Abbott Elementary, created by none other than Quinta Brunson, check it out. ABC's Quinta Brunson, Abbott Elementary. And that's all for episode 1. If you want more of a think piece, go to hashtag Abbott Elementary on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And that's all I have for you, friends.